Hello there, honeybees! It's a new year again, assuming I got this video out on time, and I thought it might be fun to go over some of my favorite video games to kick off that countdown. Keep in mind that this list is in no particular order, and also not a list of my favorite games of 2022 specifically either. This is just a general selection of games I really enjoy. So, without further delay, let's go. This one is just really cozy to play. If you haven't heard of Calico before, the basic premise is that you run a cat cafe for an island of fellow magical girls. You get to customize your character pretty much however you can imagine, and they give you a great variety of animals besides the obvious cats to interact with. The main gameplay revolves around befriending animals, which you can name yourself, picking various cutesy sweets, and doing quests for the adorable townspeople, all while this really sweet soundtrack plays in the background. And it really never gets more complicated than that. My only gripe with the game is that it can be kinda hard to figure out what you're supposed to do to progress if you do happen to get stuck, but that's a really minor thing in the grand scheme, and it doesn't take away from the fun of collecting cute accessories and decorating your cafe. If you like a really chill gaming experience, or are also a fan of Bee and Puppy Cat, because the art style here really reminds me of that show, I'd recommend giving this one a shot. You can get it on Steam or the Nintendo Switch eShop for a pretty reasonable price right now. And yes, you can pet every single animal on the island in this game. Clearly the true game of the year. I think the LittleBigPlanet games are criminally underrated in the 2D platforming sphere. They have such a unique visual style to them, and how many games let you craft your own levels from the ground up however you please? It's just a wonderful concept, this world of fabric scraps and adventure, all powered by pure imagination. Your little sack thing character is adorably customizable, and plays off the rest of the cast remarkably well for being given zero dialogue. The single-player campaign is pretty packed full of collectibles and fun minigames, and when you could go online, there was a veritable universe of player-crafted levels to dive into. With the ability to make your own as well on top of that, you'd really struggle to run out of things to do. Obviously, the lack of online support has crippled the game somewhat, but not so badly that I'd write it off as no longer worth playing. There's plenty to enjoy without it, especially if you can friend into joining you locally. It's just fun to explore the carefully handcrafted story levels and watch the adventure unfold. But what made me choose LittleBigPlanet 2 over the original? It just generally improves on everything that made the first game great, while adding some pretty enjoyable new touches. The creator-curators behind each world feel a lot more like actual characters you get to know, and your quest to defeat the Negativatron just seems a lot more grandiose than it did with the Collector. Definitely one to hold on to. If you like strategy RPG games, Stella Glow is a must-play to add to your collection. This is an absolutely adorable anime-styled strategy game where you take on the role of Alto in a quest to save the world of Regnant from the Rich of Destruction, using the magic of song, of course. During your adventure, you get to meet and recruit many lovable characters and increase your bonds between them and your team of witches with the power of the conductor. Like Fire Emblem, you move your characters around the map to engage enemies, but unlike Fire Emblem, there is no permadeath mechanic. As long as you keep Alto from getting worn out, you don't have to worry about units losing health too much. Everyone automatically gets healed up in between encounters, and there are plenty of healing items and spells you can collect as well. There's also a shop in the main town hub where you can buy new weapons and armor for all your units. Aside from engaging in pretty enjoyable fight campaigns, you get a set amount of free time in between big main missions, and you can spend that free time in a few ways. Taking a part-time job allows you to earn some money, spending time with one of your teammates will increase your bond with them, and choosing to explore gives you a chance to find a useful piece of gear or something. Not to mention, the story in general is, in my opinion, really good. I haven't finished this one yet, but I'm really looking forward to seeing it to the end. what more do I need to say besides the phrase Luigi's Mansion? This spooky Switch outing with our favorite ghost hunter is widely beloved and for good reason, basically improving on everything that made me fall in love with Dark Moon tenfold. The animation style in this game is gorgeous and definitely takes advantage of Luigi's tendency to be a much more expressive protagonist. His adorable klutziness is on full display here. The gameplay loop is pretty much your standard Luigi's Mansion fare, wherein you explore the Last Resort Hotel's collection of strange and haunted floors, capturing ghosts in your quest to rescue Mario. And adding Luigi and the ability to cause a minor explosive blast definitely adds a unique layer to the level design here. There are puzzles to solve, secrets to find, and unique boss encounters to enjoy. And if that just isn't enough Luigi content for you, the Skyscrapers multiplayer content is alive and well so long as you have a Nintendo Online to connect up. What's on offer is mostly just a bunch of minigames, but the Skyscraper itself is sort of a procedurally generated adventure ending with an exclusive boss fight. It's just all around a really fun game to play. My favorite boss ghost is Marty, and my favorite floor gimmick is getting to watch Luigi sail around in this adorable ducky float. If you haven't picked this one up yet, I highly recommend doing so. I think Kirby is one of the very few franchises that makes 3D models look really good. And Forgotten Land has got to be my favorite outing from the Pink Puffball since Return to Dreamland. Each world is lovingly crafted throughout and has no shortage of that bubbly Kirby charm. Waddle Dee Town is a nice hub world with some minigames on offer to unwind between the main adventure, and the inclusion of an upgrade system for copy abilities was pretty fun. Seeing Kirby in various hats is just automatically kind of adorable. Some people were disappointed that the game wasn't fully open world, but honestly with the overwhelming amount of that we've been getting lately, I didn't mind the linearity. The myriad of objectives you can complete in each level to collect Waddle Dees I think balances it out anyway. Of course, that's all without addressing the elephant in the room, mouthful mode. If you saw anything online about this game before it came out, it was probably all the Kirby memes that spawned from one of the trailers. The official Kirby Cafe in Japan even has a Kirby Jello cake on their menu now. Each type of mouthful mode really does shake up the gameplay in really inventive ways, except maybe the sphere and locker ones. Vending Mouth is my personal favorite because just look at it, but the hang glider and roller coaster modes are super fun too. If you haven't played Kirby in a while or were dissatisfied with Star Allies, I'd say give Forgotten Land at least a fair shake because it really does go above and beyond to make sure you're having a good time. The twist at the end and subsequent post-game mode really took me by surprise. It was great. Though I do have to detract a few points of praise from it for being the game that created Silly Dillo. I don't trust those eyes. Nostalgic Wii titles, my beloved. This was my first foray into the world of Paper Mario, and it still manages to hold the distinction of being my favorite. While admittedly not perfect, I think Super Paper Mario employs some of the most fun and interesting storytelling on the system. The lack of turn-based combat makes getting accustomed more accessible, and there's a lot of items and special abilities you can use to change the flow of things. Plus, you can still level up and generate combos with little-timed jumps. To this day, the characters from this game, even ones as innocuous as an NPC shopkeeper, hold very special places in my heart, Dimitri in particular being an obvious standout. Not just in terms of Mario characters, but across all media I've consumed over the years. I haven't played another Paper Mario title that struck all the same chords Super Paper Mario did, and I guess considering their more recent offerings, we may never get another quite like it. But that just makes this little piece of time in a bottle all the more special to me. I'll never forget my first trip down the River Twigs, at the grand scale of the finale, and even then I still haven't scratched the surface of all the collectibles or post-game content there is to see. I need to find a way to properly emulate the thing so I can both share it with you guys and just have it on hand to play whenever I feel like, because it really is a game that means a lot to me. Or, Nintendo could release a remaster or add Wii games to their list of titles you can play through the online service, hint hint. But yeah, I could gush about this game to the moon and back. I absolutely adore it. Please give it a chance if you haven't already. You'll never see it coming. Ah, Persona. If it wasn't already cemented, then you are the game that made me fall in love with jazz music. But, banger soundtrack aside, Persona 5 being announced for the Switch was one of the most exciting things to come from a Nintendo trailer for me last year. I watched my dad play the original version sometime after it had first come out and immediately fell in love vicariously. The art style was just begging for attention, the aforementioned music never misses a beat, and it's very entertaining to get to know all your potential confidants. So, how does actually getting to play the game for myself after all this time feel? Honestly, really great. Like Stella Glow, I do have yet to see everything through to the conclusion, but I'm having a great time with it, and I'm sure there's plenty of fun just waiting for me around every corner. I love the game so much, in fact, that I actually asked for a Shujin Academy bag for Christmas. It's honestly pretty handy as a travel duffel bag, not to mention very cute, though I'm not sure I'd recommend trying to carry any real-life cats in there. Now, a question you might be asking yourself is, how does Persona 5 Royal compare to the original? Well, I can't make any direct comparisons myself, but I can tell you that Royal adds at least one new character and comes bundled with a ton of DLC items you'll have free access to once you make a little bit of progress through the first chapter. These include a ton of costumes for your confidants and Joker himself, of course, some extra cash to help you get started, and a couple of free healing items. You also get a neat selection of personas you can purchase from Igor, but keep in mind that you won't be able to use most of them right away since you can't wield a persona that's higher level than you are. Nothing overpowered or game-breaking, but it's pretty nice to have, and the Catherine-inspired costumes in particular are really cute when given to their respective characters. So, great for if you happen to care about or just enjoy aesthetic stuff like that, which I do. If they made a plush of Morgana in the slime costume, I don't think I'd be able to control myself. I've only made it past Kamoshida's boss fight so far, but based on that, I think the difficulty curve is pretty fair. I was never struggling so badly that I felt completely stuck or frustrated or anything like that. And I very much appreciate the combat being turn-based after trying to play Final Fantasy XIII. No idea what the Persona fandom's general consensus on this game is, but hey, I'm having fun and looking forward to seeing everything else it has to offer. Oh, and in case you were wondering, Ryuji is my current bias. I'm not sure if this is cliché or not, but the word that comes to mind when I think about Undertale is comfort. The art style and characters just immediately drew me into this world, and the story kept me coming back well after I got the credits to roll. You play as a human who's fallen into the underground, a cavernous land inhabited by all sorts of monsters, and your goal is to explore and find your way back to the surface. I am not the best at bullet hell combat, but the game is pretty gentle in terms of difficulty, at least on the pacifist routes, which is what I always play. It's fun to explore the different areas of the underground to their limits, especially since every monster you meet has a unique personality to discover. Not to mention there are plenty of puzzles for you to solve along the way. I know the Undertale fanbase has garnered an unfavorable reputation among the general internet, but there is a reason so many people were drawn to it. It's just a fun, good-feeling time to play through, uncovering quirky dialogue or actions, and taking in all the adorable pixelated scenery just to see what new things you can get it to show you. It's a game that really lends itself to fan art and community creation, which I think is pretty neat. Toby Fox deserves the absolute world for giving us this wonderful little RPG love letter. I won't tell you to go play this one since it has kind of been talked to death at this point, but it's a game that's extremely special to me personally. Double Fine is honestly a really underrated studio. I mean, it's nowhere near completely underground or anything, but you just don't always see people talking about their titles. And like many other people who did stumble upon their library, my favorite game produced by their hands is Psychonauts. What can I even say about this wonderfully weird platformer that hasn't already been said? Obviously, I think the game deserves all the praise it does get, but that can make it a little difficult to contribute anything new to discussions. On the other hand, everything you might have heard about the game is absolutely correct. The level design is really inventive and fun to platform around in. The characters and their dialogue are charming, and the art style is adorably unique. The moment you see a screenshot from this game, you know exactly where it came from in the best possible way. Raz himself has got to be one of my favorite protagonists to work with, just on personality alone, but all his psi powers really seal the deal with all the clever ways you can use them. Also, he's voiced by the same guy who does Zim, as an Invader Zim, and also Moxie from Hell of a Boss, so major bonus points there. I haven't played many games either that give special reactionary dialogue to pretty much every character, just on the off chance you wanted to see if you could mess with them after unlocking a new ability. But here comes along Psychonauts, where every new psi power you unlock can uncover a unique reaction. Usually in the form of a dialogue string, but in Clairvoyance's case, you get a direct glimpse into what each NPC thinks of you, which is pretty neat. If you already enjoy collectathon platformer games, like Banjo-Kazooie or Super Mario Sunshine, and you somehow haven't already checked this one out, it's on Steam and Game Pass along with the long-awaited sequel. Also, I just have to take a minute to gush about the music in this game. Absolutely, some of the best tracks in the entire PlayStation library, don't at me. Especially the special themes to accompany each Mindscape. I think the Meat Circus theme is permanently seared into my brain. Speaking of, you should go check out this version of that theme with lyrics made by a man on the internet and tell me what you think. I could gush about that for ages too, but that would be going off on a tangent. So, for the sake of this video, TLDR Psychonauts music good. And hey, if you don't want to play it for yourself, I've got a Let's Play here on my channel you can watch, just saying. The Nintendo DS. This little handheld was definitely the system in which my love for video games was born. And what could be the game that cemented this passion, you might ask? Pokemon Diamond and Pearl? Perhaps Platinum, or even Black and White? New Super Mario Bros? Kirby Squeak Squad, or even Mass Attack? Maybe something less mainstream, a licensed game of some sort? No. None of those options even hold a candle to my first true video game love. The game that opened my eyes to what an RPG adventure could be. The game that, in my humble opinion, is one of, if not the best title on the system. Fossil Fighters Champions. Don't look at me like that. In all seriousness, I genuinely think this is a must-play for any Nintendo DS enthusiast. The sprite work is immaculate, the characters are fun and charming, and the overarching story takes surprising turns that'll keep you on your toes even after the credits roll. There's so much life crammed into every aspect of the experience. The people who made this game clearly did it with care and really wanted to make sure you'd be having a vibrant adventure. All that effort paid off in spades because to this day, Champions remains not only my favorite Fossil Fighters installment, but my favorite game from the DS library, verbatim. So, what's so special about this game to earn such high praise? It's hard to articulate, but I'll try. While the core battle mechanics may appear just to be a ripoff of Pokemon to the casual observer, it actually has a lot of quirks that make it stand on its own. The act of cleaning fossils to assemble your team of Ivysaurs alone is already unique, and getting into the Metal Bank system and Super Revival options just adds to the potential for wild team synergy options. In battles themselves, the mechanics regarding range, class, and the ability to rotate your units really makes you think through combat situations in creative ways. Outside of those encounters, though, the game provides you a generally pretty solid story experience as well. Are some of the twists a bit wacky? Yeah, sure, but hey, this is a fantasy game where we make fire-breathing dinosaurs fight for our amusement. I think you're in the wrong place if you wanted realism. I don't know, the characters you get to bond with all just hit the right notes for me. And the climax this game throws at you, the absolute magnum opus of a final boss fight? Well, I'll save my gushing over that for another video, but just know that the ending of this game goes hard. If you only play one of the games I talked about today, please make it this one. And there you have it, my potentially strange taste put out there for you all to analyze. What are some of your favorite titles to play through? I always love people get excited over that. I have no idea what it's going to bring in terms of the channel, but remember to stay safe, and here's to a happy 2023. Take care of yourselves.